Hey everyone, Ellie here. Recording this after the fact. Sorry about possible poor audio quality, just using built-in microphones and stuff. Um, we wanted to put a heads up at the front of this episode, just as talked about. This is our final episode, and for the three of us, this show meant a lot of things for us in a lot of different ways. I don't want to specifically talk for Jared and Will, but I know I personally am having feeling it's hard to say goodbye to it. This last episode here, where when we recorded it, was a lot of closure for us, and we kind of dive into some of that. And it's nothing that's like content or trigger warning worthy, but it's just feeling a lot heavier and gets emotional at some points, which is a really huge tonal shift for us, seeing as how we very much always try to keep it just real light and talk about TTRPGs and mechanics and just geeking out about stuff. So just felt that kind of tonal shift deserved a heads up if that's not kind of what you're up for at the moment. Or maybe it's just emotional for the three of us and no one else will care. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, as promised, here's the final episode.
Welcome to Monsters Multiclass. I'm Ellie Hody.
I'm Jared Mornigal.
And I'm Will Meldon.
And on this episode, if you saw our special announcements, it's our last episode. We're not covering multi-classes or monsters, or just feels kind of odd at this point to try and do that. This is a lot for us, and probably, we have some fans that have been around for a very long time, and for you guys too. Yeah, we don't have a specific set thing. We're just kind of talking about our thinking back on how the show went, that sort of stuff.
So to start, we're going to rate each episode in chronological order. All right?
Well, 179 of them.
Yes. And this one obviously needs a rating as well, but we'll get to that once we get to the end of the rating list. It's going to get really weird really fast. But very first episode, I'm not going to keep this bit up much longer. Don't worry.
I was thinking 63, maybe. Number 63.
Oh, start with 63?
Yeah.
Just right
No,
in the middle?
our first episode is ranked 63rd.
Oh, gotcha. Really?
Yeah.
I would put it much lower. I'd say
because we were new, and rusty, but we were also super excited, enthusiastic, and really, really, really gave it our all.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But it was Monk Rogue, and I didn't really like that multi-class even now. So that kind of lowers it a little bit for me. I've never actually used the gray render, despite putting that as our monster. So
yeah, I actually don't think that was our first one. We released 5 all at once just to get a bunch out there.
Oh, and then they all get...
I think the order got weird. I don't remember what we actually recorded first.
We have it listed as Monk Rogue as episode 1 because we specifically went back and numbered them.
We did.
Each.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, if you remember our first episode, then go ahead and leave a comment and let us know what our first episode was. But seriously, I mean, as Ellie said, it's been really just fun for these 4.5 years now that we've been doing this. There's been so much that I feel like I've learned about tabletop RPGs and obviously D&D 5th edition to the point that I came to absolutely despise it, which I think is a healthy healthy end state. That's not true. I don't despise 5th edition, but there is something.
We're very much burnt out on it. That's something we've been talking about a lot. It's we realized we started playing with the playtest packets and have consistently had a weekly game going since then. So it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time on one system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's not helping. In terms of the enthusiasm of the changes and continuing covering 5th edition is just not there for us.
Yeah, we are staring at 10 years backwards of D&D 5th edition. And with the latest content drop, it almost feels like you're looking 10 years into the future of D&D 5th edition. So there is kind of that edition fatigue that we definitely admit we have.
Yeah, because 1D&D we feel has not changed enough to reinvigorate that excitement. I mean, and of course we could just really pivot into Pathfinder coverage, but in addition to that, a lot of us lives are getting busy. A lot of big changes. I'm starting film school in the fall, and I have no sense of how busy I'll be. And I already have 2 young children, and trying to fit all this in felt stressful. So there's talk of oh, do we just take a long hiatus? Jared, I won't do your announcement.
No, that's fine. Now
I don't know if it's come up on the show or not, but
maybe slightly. I'm having my first child in September, so kind of same deal around that time. Going to be definitely a new type of busy, and the idea of trying to work all of our schedules out while as mentioned as well, with 5th edition almost coming to an end, and it just seemed like we had two options, which was to dig our heels into the Dungeons and Dragons community and keep the fan base that we've grown for this length of time, and hope that we start to enjoy those discussions again, or, as also mentioned, pivoting to Pathfinder, which would mean kind of carving out an entirely new fan base, and that on top of with life stuff it sounds exhausting. And the joy and excitement of it just wasn't really there. So instead of trying to continue something that's, I think we all are the type of people who are like, it's better when things end. Like, things are good when they end. Good shows are not just podcasts, but just like good TV shows. They're always the best when they finish, and they finish strong. There's nothing exciting about something that goes on to the point that it's a lifeless husk of what it used to be, just because we've got fans and some people on Patreon and whatever,
who we love and are
who we
super
do.
thankful
Oh
for.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
really,
That's
legitimately. That wasn't
yeah.
dismissive.
No, it's by no means, but I don't think it's fair to those people who are putting in energy, listening to us, and hoping that we're getting. I mean, I guess I hope that our fans want us to enjoy what we're doing, right? That'd be kind of sad if they're like, dance for us, monkeys.
Right. I never got that impression from our
I haven't either. And I think, through this time I have learned so much from all of our fans. Like the comments that we've gotten. Our transition to YouTube was really successful, minus, the occasional weird rant from people that I couldn't understand. But just because it allowed us to interact so much better with our fans through comments, whereas on the podcast it really felt like we were shouting into the void. We were posting on Reddit every time that we could, and usually we just get disparaging comments about how long we were and how we didn't belong on D&D Next.
Right.
So going from that point to the point that we're actually interacting with people, getting some like great feedback, and to the point that we were able to have that Whips Nettington competition as well. Like this, it's all been really great, and I won't disparage even a single moment of it. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, for sure. If you think back, do you remember when we first started recording? We would do we would do a multiclass and a monster. That would be the thing in the episode. It would be like double long episodes, and we would
that's
record
the name of the
4
show.
at a time, right? Yeah, and we would record 4 at a time.
Yep, because we do once a month recording.
Yeah, I don't know how we managed that.
They were so much shorter.
Were they?
Yes, they were so much shorter.
We got more verbose as we went. Usually people learn how to trim things down. Okay.
Our first episode was an hour and 5 minutes. And honestly, in general, we stuck to an hour. And our first long episode was when we talked about the Artificer Unearthed Arcana. So, yeah, in general, we just kept it really brief. And I think that as we started to realize we were like able to talk more, you can actually see, I would love if I could chart this. Like we then get into a year after, like 2019, and you start to see all of our episodes are an hour and a half, hour 40, hour 50. Like,
right. It should be easy to chart, actually.
Right. Like we got
because I know all that data could be dumped into a CSV. Yeah. Put in Excel. Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun
our
to do.
podcasting platform lets you do that.
Yeah. So like it was very much like we're not talking about stuff at the length that we probably should have been.
Right.
And finally realized, like, all right, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah. Then we split it to 2. We would do, I think that's what happened when we really started giving YouTube attention. Like we started uploading these on YouTube a while back. But it was just like, there was no video. It was just the static image of our logo, and we just dumped them on there. Once we actually started recording video and giving YouTube more attention, I think that's around when we started splitting, where we would do, 1 topic per episode. But apparently they're still the same length of what our double ones were. So that's how we did it. Because I would say I get so worn out after 2. It's hard being on for like 2-3 hours straight, like in front of a camera. Even though this is all really casual, obviously, and nothing like super formal, it's still really tiring.
Yeah.
And yeah, 2 episodes. That's like my limit now. So yeah, crazy to think back. Yeah, even when those were 1 hour episodes, we would sit down there and do it for 4 hours.
Yeah. The only difference being that we would record in my basement. So like I
Right,
guess
and there was no
there's
cameras. Yeah,
right. So there is like the physical presence of it that maybe kept us going. I'm not sure.
maybe.
No, it
And beer.
sucked. I remember it.
We used to
sucked.
drink
I
during them
remember,
too.
Yeah, I remember drinking heavily during all of them. They were terrible.
You know,
We never got drunk.
No,
I did.
No, you'd always notice like a quality decline by like the 4th episode. Will was just screaming.
Yeah, we did these weird arcs of like quality. Every 4 episodes, it's dip and then raise and dip and raise. I don't remember when I think we formally decided, like, all right, we shouldn't be drinking while we do this, or did we all just kind of get away from it? I don't
I
remember.
think we just got away from it.
Yeah.
I'm
Honestly,
drinking
and-
now.
Oh well, that's up to you. So that's what's in that damn mug.
I was assuming it was coffee.
That's on us for never asking.
Sure.
Just has like a liter of Jack Daniels underneath him. Just but no, I think I even when we started doing like digital recording, I'd still have like a drink or two, but now I don't even consider it. It helps that we started recording at 10 in the morning though. I think that's a big reason.
Right. I mean, I don't even drink anymore, so
That's true.
move. But yeah, I stopped drinking rail recording this a long time ago before I quit drinking in general.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 4.5 years, right?
4.5
2018?
years. Yep.
Yeah, the show's older than my oldest son. I don't think my wife was even pregnant then.
Nope. And yet the NAGPA was like one of the 6th or 7th episodes. Nothing, something that hasn't come up in a while.
But yeah.
We haven't. I was hoping for
Yeah.
like the big reveal at the end of the show that the NAGPA was like behind the show, but then I realized that the NAGPA is a fictional character and that wasn't going to
Right.
happen.
Oh, you were hoping for that to actually happen? To like not even realize that the NAGPA was controlling you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't have been mad. I'd have been like, wow, good play. We were like right on the cusp of figuring it out, but nope.
Yeah. So one thing we talked about labeling this as an indefinite hiatus, like kind of leaving the door open just a little bit for maybe coming back in the future. But then we've all stopped talking about it that way and just saying we're ending it. Do you see either of you two interest in the future? Do you think that may happen? Should we leave that little crack open? There's a chance, maybe, or is it no?
I mean,
Not to put you on the spot, but I guess
no,
I can
that's
edit
fine.
this and cut it
I
out, so
would
it's
leave
not
it.
on the spot.
I think one of the things is if we came back, it would be after us starting a Pathfinder campaign, playing it for a while. There still being a growing and their community for Pathfinder 2nd edition, and then probably just focusing on that. That's like right now. If you ask me, in 2 years, would you come back? That would be the scenario that makes it.
Right.
Will that be the case? I have no idea. By then, we might have moved on from Pathfinder 2nd Edition to Splorshbarg, the new TTRPG by...
I've heard good things about that one. Back to Splorshbarg on Kickstarter.
I'm back in the Splorshbarg Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll blow my mind. You know, like it's so hard to say from that perspective. Obviously, we've talked about how like the conversations have never been the problem, right? It's not like sitting around and talking with you guys for an hour is like a bummer on my day or anything. It's pretty enjoyable. And those crunchy mechanical conversations, we're not going to stop having them. It's probably going to go back to me in our chat, like having a bored hour at work and sending a rambling for a while, and then somebody else responding after some period of time calling me an idiot. You know, it'll be like the good old days.
Right.
But you know, it'll I think that that joy is still there. So to say that no, there's no chance whatsoever, I wouldn't say so. But it definitely wouldn't be in, you know, Dungeons and Dragons 6th edition, we're gonna take on multiclassing again.
Right. Unless we absolutely fall in love with 6th edition, that's completely changed. If they ever even do a 6th edition.
They don't. They're not going to do a 6th edition.
You're right.
You remember, like when a video game was really running out of money, so the back half of the game was like you running back through your levels that are slightly changed. Halo did this slightly successfully because it was such a good game. But that's what it kind of would look like to come back to D&D at this point.
Right.
Just they're going to re-release every single piece of content that we've been talking about for 5 years.
Yeah,
That's
and we're
gonna
not the
be-
Master Chief.
We're not the Master Chief. We don't have the energy
We're
to
not.
slog through that again.
Do you think that's the direction it's going?
I am
gonna release,
extremely
like,
confident.
Basha's stew pot of most things, and it's just going to be the same subclasses but updated in 5th edition 5.5.
I think that the order will be different and such, but the design philosophy is seems pretty ingrained at this point. I would be pleasantly surprised if this isn't the direction it goes, but I think I'm with Will. Again, it's not going to be in the exact same order, and not everything's going to look the exact same, but it also all just feels like minor tune-ups of what they've been working on for 10 years because they've found their golden goose and they don't want to kill it. And by,
right.
totally scrapping 5th edition and separating their core audience, which like it's going to happen no matter what, but they're obviously trying to limit as much as possible by making what feels like as few of changes as possible. So yeah, I think Will's right. It would very much feel like running through our starter levels again.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were talking about if we're coming back, it's like after playing Pathfinder for a while, that sort of thing. I definitely agree with that, where I don't feel like that expertise in Pathfinder to like come on here with knowledge and talk about it. Like we've been trying, but we've also been keeping the conversations pretty light around it. Yeah, don't feel ready at that point. That's for sure.
and even that said, I mean, like with the Pathfinder episodes we've done, like after each of them, we've all been like, that was a fun conversation, because it feels so fresh. And then we have comments, and even our Hydra episode that just came out and is probably still doing terribly because there's no market for a Hydra monster episode in Pathfinder 2 in our core fan base. We know that. We don't care. We don't care what you like. We just wanted to make stuff that was fun for us. That has been a consistent theme and will continue to be a consistent theme. Yeah. But we still get fantastic comments from the people who do want to see that and are filling us in on information that we don't have about Pathfinder. I mean, I think I had one question in an episode. We had a question like, how prevalent is this type of damage? And somebody commented and was able to give us that info. But if we're going to get up here on our pedestal and pretend that we're experts when we've got under 20 hours of play, Ellie, you probably a little bit more, it's just going to feel silly. And we've already agreed that we're not going to stop our campaign in its tracks and switch over to Pathfinder because I'm really enjoying this current campaign and we're like halfway through it. So, there's that time needed to feel like we can be authoritative voices. And we were totally wrong when we were trying to be authoritative voices when we started this in 5th edition, but we at least had more under our belts.
Yeah, I say we were quite a few years into that. We were 5-6 years of playing at that point.
Mm-hmm. I think I was more like 4, but still.
Yeah. I wouldn't say we were completely out of our element.
I will speak for myself. where very much when I listen back on it, I'm just like, oh, okay, I didn't have like a strong understanding of all of the tendrils. I mean, I was forgetting plenty of like common rules, even for multi-classing and stuff. But it was something that we learned as we went, and it wasn't a problem because we had at least enough of a foundation and enough experience to go off of it.
Right. Yeah, I know another thing for me in terms of like coming back or what, and like with changing it, there's been this aspect that we've always very much stuck with, like, this is a hobby for us. This podcast is a hobby. We're not trying to make this a career. We're not trying to live off of this. It's incredibly difficult to live off of podcasts, by the way. They just don't make that much money unless you're in the like top 0.1% and get the millions of views, which does not happen often. I'm sorry about crushing anyone's dreams out there, but and that's all fine, but it has definitely kept things kind of tempered down for us when we were like start talking about, all right, we could do this and this and this and start putting a bunch of effort into this way. And we all kind of think it's like, nah, it's not for a hobby. And
right,
so
like we didn't spend hundreds on marketing every month.
Right.
Because it's a hobby.
Or hours and hours and hours on marketing.
Yes.
Like we could have all done more on like social media and promotions. And like, I don't touch social media. Will's not allowed on social media. So it all falls on Jared. And I can't blame you for...
And before this podcast, I'd quit social media outright. So like I specifically got on social media because of Monsters and Multiclass. And after 3 years of doing it, I was like, oh, right, I don't like social media. So,
Right.
I still pop up on Twitter every once in a while, but the TTRPG Twitter community, I could probably talk on that for 10, 20 minutes. I'm not going to, but I mean, just it was a really, really fun and welcoming place when this podcast was first getting started. It is not in the place where it was. Not that it's not
No.
fun and welcoming. It's just not there because of Twitter changes. It has basically imploded. It is not a great place to market anymore. It is not a great place to meet people anymore. It feels like when I started, I'd literally just go on the TTRPG hashtag or the D&D hashtag, and I just scroll and just interact with people. It wasn't sure it was about growing our audience, but like probably 19 out of 20 people weren't going to listen to the podcast. My goal was just, let me just talk to people and see what happens. And it was fun. And people wanted to talk about their game and they wanted to talk about their builds. And that's just not there anymore. When I go onto my Twitter feed now, it feels like I'm scrolling through just like a husk of what used to be a pretty vibrant community. That's no negatives towards anyone who has left the Twitter TTRPG community or is still there. I mean, it's fine. It's just, it's not what it was. I'll say that.
Sure, yeah.
This is because we didn't pivot to TikTok.
It's true. It's kind of true, though. That seems to be where the people are at. But I don't even want to have TikTok on my phone.
Yeah, I made a very conscious effort years back to avoid TikTok. I know myself. I would get so hooked on that and waste hours a day. And like I just can't do it. Stayed off of it. But yeah, so that hobby aspect of it, I feel like it has kept us in a bit of a limbo for a while here when we're all kind of like starting to feel like a little done, a little burnt out. And then there's always the talk, all right, we could really revamp it and change it. But then it always gets to the point, it's like, okay, that's going to be a huge amount of time, effort, or resources, which we just have too much going on outside of it. It kind of feels like we would have needed to really keep this going, like really try and like take a risk and commit. We would probably focus more on YouTube than podcasts because YouTube is easier to get properly monetized and make some decent money off of. Not that it's easy, just easier than a podcast. And yeah, our ultimate decision was always not. We just want to keep it a hobby,
which is how we stayed away from doing terrible ad spots the whole time. No manscaping, despite their constant emails towards us. We got a lot from their reps.
Did we? I stopped checking our podcast email.
It got kind of out of hand where I had to be like, please stop contacting us like this. I get that you think this is a great market, but like it's really not what we want.
Right. Yeah. No shade on like anyone who does take that stuff. I know there are a lot of YouTubers and podcasts and like people we have connected with who have their own style of shows that do take that stuff on. And that's totally fine because they're trying to do something different. They are trying to actually make some money off of this. Maybe not live off of, or maybe they are. And that's what you need to do. So like, I get it, but it's just not what we wanted.
Right.
I just didn't want to leave that message out there. Like we're like shaming people for like having those ads on there. It's like, it's what you need to do. Sometimes you need to play the game if that's what you're trying to do with your show and content.
They're just sellouts and I don't respect them.
Oh,
it's our last episode, Ellie. Say whatever you want. School's out. I always hated Mrs. Rafe. This is my first grade teacher. She was actually awesome. Just the first teacher that came to mind. I'm sorry, Mrs. Rafe, if you're hearing this.
One thing I'd like to mention that is a little, I think, disheartening for any content creator looking to leave the 5e sphere, and something that I noticed when we first started Pathfinder, I looked into it and I was just shocked at the complete lack of content being made for Pathfinder.
Oh, really?
It is incredibly shallow. People do not, there's nobody, I don't think there's a single, I never encountered a single full-time Pathfinder YouTuber or streamer or anything like that. And that to me is it tamps down on any expectations of revamping, because our niche has always been a niche. and making it another niche. I don't know how how many fewer reviews we could possibly aim for, but I think Pathfinder is the path to as few as possible.
Well, that's not true. We could start covering like Call of Cthulhu, which great game,
Yeah.
love Call of Cthulhu, but there's not
Mhm.
really like a market for Call of Cthulhu content talking about the rules. So there is a there's a deeper bottom. But I do wonder just how much of that comes around the fact that the market isn't there yet. I mean, Pathfinder this year saw a massive, massive uptick in people checking out their system, but it's still a drop in the bucket compared to 5th edition, which, as you said, is already kind of a niche hobby. I mean, obviously, tabletop role playing games have had a renaissance in the last decade, but it's still not massive. So yes, you're right. It seems like we just keep kind of narrowing our scope until we are the audience.
I think the other thing is there was a meme going around essentially talking about games that have higher player bases versus higher Twitch views. People are like, what's up with that? Why are more people playing this game than watching it on Twitch compared to a game like Diablo, for instance, has more Twitch views than players? It's like, because people enjoy playing it more than they enjoy the content around it. D&D has kind of fallen into becoming a cultural mainstay. There was a theatrical movie released recently that was D&D themed and didn't feature Tom Hanks trying to jump off a pier of some sort. Classic, by the way. But I think Pathfinder, just like quietly, everybody just plays Pathfinder and really likes it.
Yeah,
They don't
I've
need
noticed that too.
content.
Because the game works.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, even to say we have talked about other ways of pivoting into more of like a more abstract tabletop role-playing topics in general. We had our holiday world-building episode end of last year, which was super fun and didn't do terribly well, but definitely did go for a different market. And that's not to say we like put a ton of, again, advertising into it and made a bunch of episodes around that kind of style. But that was something we discussed, and it fell back to that. Yeah, but this is a hobby, and those types of episodes take a ton more work, and you get more into the Matt Colville style of YouTubing, where he's writing a script, and he has people helping him write those scripts. I'm almost sure that one somebody can correct me on, but I know he's got like a team of folks now. They might just be for writing the game, not important. But it is definitely a little bit more scripted, and those take effort. You know, those take a lot of effort to really put together, the type of time of which I just don't think we can truly commit without ignoring other responsibilities.
Right. And all right, I would be remiss to not talk about. I know my transition for just a second here. I know this is not a
That's okay.
trans. You know, me being trans has not ever been a part of the show. It's been about D&D and TTRPGs, but I did come out well on. You know, I was not out when we started doing the show, and then even after we started doing videos, that's when I came out as trans. Did it on the show, transitioned on the show too, and the overwhelming support by this community and our fans has been absolutely amazing. I remember like the Twitter threads, just
It was really nice. It
Yeah.
was. I mean, it I know you were really nervous about it because it obviously has been huge for you.
and then just in general with the show helping me personally. When first coming out, I had so much insecurity about myself, which is really difficult. And still recording the show, and like I'm the one who edits it, so we'll record it and then have to watch myself on camera for hours throughout that week as I edit it and produce it and put it out there. It did a ton for helping me confront those insecurities and like really prompted the work for me to like be okay with myself. So just one of those things that I don't know. It's not like specific to fans or you guys or anything. Just one of the reasons the show has always been really important to me, especially in the last couple of years here.
Thanks for sharing that. I know that's hard.
Even my cold black heart has been slightly warmed by our audience. It's just bizarre. It's bizarre to watch internet communities behave in any sort of way that could be described as positive. And it's not always been that.
Mhm.
And it's surely no community is, but it's just the sheer percentage of it is, it's odd to say the least, especially in the year of our Lord 2023.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely been the occasional negative crap about me being trans on here, but it has been so outweighed by all the positivity that even continued after like years coming out. Just the random comment from fans about all the it's been really awesome.
Overall, I'd say mostly great listeners. And that's, I
Yeah.
mean, it happens usually from, the smaller communities. And that was not that we were like right on the cusp of greatness and we held back for this particular
Right.
reason, but it was definitely a reason why we never wanted to pursue it much further. Was that idea of getting some massive fan base usually means now having to deal with the negativity from online communities that comes with any greater size. But I didn't feel like we ever really had to fight against that. It was mostly when our stuff, whatever it was, got into new people's hands and they didn't like what we were doing or didn't like us, which it's the internet. That's kind of the thing. You're able to go to every single human being on the planet. So it's very possible that people aren't going to like what we're doing. People want listicles and people want distilled down 5 minute information, and they want class builds, and if we're not making what they want, sometimes people view that as a negative. Always very weird to me. It's like I don't know, I don't go to a restaurant and then be like, ugh, they're making something with cilantro. This place fucking sucks. I hate cilantro. I actually love cilantro, but I feel like people could relate to that.
Right.
But overall, I mean, it felt like the people who understood what we were trying to do and, enjoyed this type of long form discussion. And maybe it's the people who they themselves are having these types of conversations with their friends, understood it. And that always felt great. And then just seeing them kind of come along in stride with us as we've made our changes to format or whatever. I mean, it's been very, very supportive. So thank you all. And we'll thank you by leaving the MM10 code open on Fanroll Dice. I don't think there's any reason for us to shut that down. So you can get 10% off for the rest of your life.
I'm sure at some point they'll shut it down, but
I mean, what are they going to do? Just check on us? They don't care.
No.
As long as it's getting used, they're getting dice. They don't care. Not
Sure.
They're getting money from people buying dice, which
Right.
is all Fanroll cares about. So, and we'll get like $3 every 6 months. In terms of what we're doing with the podcast, it is going to stay up
logistics.
indefinitely. Our plan is to just keep paying for hosting. It's not such an exorbitant cost that we need to take it down or anything. So, if you want to listen to us, you can. Don't feel like you have to download every single episode because it's getting taken off the internet. YouTube is obviously free to keep up, so not taking anything
I think they
off
have
there.
some policy if it's inactive for a while, they take it down, but
Oh, interesting. I
We'll
didn't know
kinda-
that.
let that run its course.
Yeah, we'll figure that out when we'll burn that bridge when we come to it, as Will always says. But yeah, the other thing to mention is Ellie has like a bunch of Monsters and Multiclass shirts that we need to get rid of. Your wife bought like 50 of them because I think it was just like a good bulk deal, and we never did anything with it. Which
Right.
just goes
we
to
gave
show.
them out to some like people in her lives. We obviously all have some, and then
Yes, goes to show how bad we
have
are
like
at
40.
this.
Yeah.
So, to our patrons, if you want a shirt, you let us know and we will ship one to you. Anyone else, if you want a shirt, then what was our plan? What were we gonna do? I think patrons just get first come, first serve, but then after
We're
that,
doing Monsters and Multiclass on the road. Everybody will here. Leave your full address in the comments of this video. And I'm going to come to your house. I'm going on a summer road trip to make sure that all of our fans get a t-shirt.
Much cheaper
I
than
cannot
shipping.
leave the country, so domestic only.
Just imagine you just showing up drunk at somebody's house at like 3 a.m. Like, I got your shirt.
Basically, if you want a shirt, just reach out to us. We'll ship it out to you.
Yeah.
I know we were talking like domestic only, US only, but whatever. It's fine. I could cover it.
If for some reason
It's
like $100 for shipping for a
Yeah.
t-shirt, then I will be very surprised. So either way, we only got like 40 of them. So I know there's a bunch of you who want a shirt, but we'll get you one. Send an email to monstersandmulticlass@gmail.com and I'll handle that aspect. And yeah,
sure. Yeah.
get your
Or
shirts.
do you plan on keeping the Twitter going? Sounds like no.
I don't know. It's been, as I said, kind of a wasteland recently. So I felt I don't know. I'm not going to like delete it. That's not my
Right.
current plan.
Yeah. Or the subreddit. Again, that's never been super active.
It's not been super active. I'll definitely leave it for historical purposes because that was where we
Right.
held the Whips Nettington stuff, and that actually is fun to look at every once in a while.
Right.
So yeah, nothing's getting shut down. That just doesn't really seem worthwhile. And besides, we're gonna get an outpouring of threads on our subreddit of people saying like, "Goodbye, we'll miss you," and or at least one, maybe. I don't know.
We'll probably
Who
get one.
knows?
I don't know because Reddit's now been shut down. So like,
I was gonna say, yeah.
like
All the social
I
medias
barely
are
even
just
use
killing
it.
themselves. Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah. What I was getting at, if there's other ways other than email to reach out, I don't know if you could direct message YouTube channels. Because obviously people don't want to be putting like their address and stuff in the comments.
that's why I figured email was simplest.
Yeah.
But yes, Twitter, email, Patreon if you're on there, obviously.
Right.
So just if you can't figure out a way to reach out to us, comment on YouTube and say I want a shirt, but I don't have an email, I don't have Twitter, I've got nothing. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Right.
I don't have an email. You're commenting on YouTube. I know you're lying. But yeah, we'll post Jared's phone number in the YouTube comments.
I mean, like
Doesn't like texts? Just call him.
It doesn't even worry me though. Like seriously, how many people are going to call and make that a problem? It's
Probably just
my
me.
number's pretty public knowledge. Like you can Google somebody's name and find a way to
Right.
get their phone number if you're motivated enough. So I don't know. Just don't sign me up for dick pills. I've got enough. Hey. It's the quality content that you all come here
Yep.
for. Yep. I got nothing else though. I think that's all my announcements.
Just again,
I have
in
one
general.
final notice.
Oh.
Or not notice, just one final observation. We always lamented the state of non-actual play content in D&D. And that I think one of the things that we might not have anticipated is there is, regardless of everything else that's happening, kind of an end where you've covered it all. Whereas in an actual play podcast, you can really just keep going and going and going. And I think that was the appeal for a lot of people. And we were just the mad ones who continued through all this to cover all this content.
I think we just didn't care. I mean, really,
Yeah.
it came up a lot when we first started. We were like, but what about when we run out of multi-classes? It was like, this was the end state. We said either option A, we find something new, great. Option B, then we did it. We did something that nobody else has done, which is create a long form discussion for every single two-way multi-class in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Is that a really specific thing? Yeah. Am I proud of it? Yeah, we did it though.
Yeah.
And we didn't
There's
make
a lot
tier
to get
lists
there.
out of it.
Right.
Because I'll still see, I mean, there's like occasional, like, I don't know, like class build YouTube videos or something, and they'll be like 5 minutes long. And I'm like, how can you talk about the, I don't know, sorcerer monk and only talk about it for 5 minutes? Like, what do you mean it's a 5-minute conversation?
Right. But they always have like 50 times the views of ours.
Because it's not what people want. People want
Right.
the 5 minutes. We're
Right. The
in-
tier lists.
Yes.
Yes.
We're in a world where long form discussion is never going to be the I guess gut reaction or initial reaction of like, oh, I want to find a group of people talking about this for an hour. It's like, if I can get that information in 3 minutes, that'd be cool.
Right.
That's
But you
not who we're.
can't.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's not who we're going
they're
to.
lying
That's
to you.
fine.
Yeah.
They're lying to you. They're selling you something that's not true.
Right. Or rankings. We were
Yeah.
always so anti-ranking. It feels so
Rankings
weird.
really, really bother me. And it still
Yeah.
bothers me because it really depends on the person ranking it. And they never give their backdrop of what their criteria is. Very often when I'm watching 5th edition discussions like that, it always feels very white room of, this is like, oh, in this very specific scenario, this class does more damage. And so it's better. It's like, how can you even look at a game like Dungeons and Dragons and only factor in damage or only factor in, stunning enemies when, legendary actions are a thing and high constitution saves on monsters are things. I mean, it's just like, you can't have a narrow view with this stuff. That's always kind of been one of our core driving principles, is that these conversations need to be broader, and you need to take the look at, okay, mechanically, is this cool? And then, is it fun? Is it actually going to come up? Is this something that people are using, or is it something that looks like a cool ability and it's going to ruin fun for the player because they're going to, game themselves out of fun, which happens sometimes. Or, you have an ability that's so great that the DM is like, oh, I have to now counter this at every opportunity. And yeah, okay, you might have the best class, but also you're not making the game better. So I think we've actually done a really good job of sticking with that principle of like, how do we make the game more fun? Not just big numbers go up. It's what is it about tabletop RPGs that just make it so damn exciting? And it's the fact that you're sitting down with a group of people who are trying to make a story with you and trying to have as much fun as possible and be challenged and overcome those challenges in a way that feels like you're all on the same kind of level playing field.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The ratings, like I struggle with ratings or rankings, really, either, and almost all forms of media. To be honest, I would even go as far as like video games, movies, books, all of that, because it's so nuanced and subjective, and people get different things out of it. And to say we give that a B, it's just that doesn't say anything. Like, because what it's going to do is get new players to pull up those things and look at, all right, let's only look at the A pluses or the S tiers or whatever, and pick from that, while completely ignoring, like, well, in there's this specific campaign and the scenario, looking like what they're going to do, something down here, which is a quote unquote D, is actually going to be amazing for them. And so, yeah, I definitely like our approach with the open discussions, just kind of detailing all that. Like, yes, this could be situational, but if you're doing a lot of this, hitting the microphone, this could be really situational. But if you're doing like a lot of X, Y, and Z in your campaign, then that multi-class is great. And I wish I could find more media like that, more content like that across all media type. I was going to say industry, so it's not the word. I don't know. But yeah.
No, industries works. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, we all know this is just
your... boils down to...
Go ahead.
Yeah, everyone just boils everything down to ratings, it seems, and rankings, giving things 1 to 5 stars, blank out of 10, some sort of percentage. Like, what's the difference between a 70% and a 75%?
5%.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and then if you're doing that and you give like a game or a multi-class in our case, or a movie a 10 out of 10, like, all right, so you're saying it's perfect,
right?
Like, what does that mean? That's like nothing can be better.
The Sorcerer Paladin, it's a 10 out of 10. It's a sky blue S tier 10 out of 10
Right.
multi-class. And you know what? It's fucking stupid. It's a bad multi-class. It's subjective. But
It's
no, we all know
D-tier multi-class?
Yes, sure, it's a D tier multi-class. Ellie, we all know this is just your rant about Death Stranding and how you're still upset about the ratings.
What?
The rank didn't Death Stranding get like mediocre ratings?
Yes.
I don't remember, to be honest. I don't know.
Okay, well, I know you love Death Stranding. That's all. That's a game where people were like, if you just look at the ratings, it's not really.
Oh, it was really polarizing, I think.
Yes.
People loved it or hate it. Yeah, and it's something you need to like look into the reviews to sound like, all right, does that actually interest me? Because like I get why people hate it, but
right.
But no, I was not specifically
I know,
keyed off of Death Stranding on this
I
one.
know,
It was
I
just
know.
a little tangent rant.
But yeah, Paladin Sorcerer. Only thing good about it is Polurterer.
Okay, is there anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. We should just give a final thank you to really everybody. I know some of you who have been around since like the first episode. I've still recognized names of people who comment, and that is so amazing. All of our patrons who give us money to help us keep this going. Thank you so much. We don't really know how to like. I feel like we need to do more than just thanks, but I guess that's kind of like the idea of what a patron is. People don't sign up for it, they support you because they like it, and that's that. So
Right.
again, so much thank
But
you.
that like blew me away, right? Because we went from having to obviously pay for our own hosting costs to like, we're like, I guess we can open up a Patreon. And then people started signing up and we're like, oh my gosh, like people actually want to give us money for this.
Right.
So thank you all so much. So I'll read your names one
I was going to
final
say,
time.
yeah, read the current state. of the
Yes,
names.
Cameron C, Ed G, Craig A, Brian H, Isaac M, Jeth W, Star Shinobi. Star Shinobi's an early one. That's extra shout out for you. Really, there's a lot of ones that I could just be doing this for, but now I'm like getting all nostalgic. This is the last time I'm going to read these. McKinnon D, you're new, but we still like you. Vincent M, Barons, Bob F.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? You're going to have to not have this for a second because I'm going to show my tummy. This is still above my computer. This is the Whips Nettington drawing, which I'm sure isn't going to be like fantastic on here, but I don't know if I ever showed it like on the show. So like when we did the Whips
I don't know,
Nettington
yeah.
contest, and I'm so sorry if this is like going all blurry and shit. I'm doing the best I can.
Just send me the digital. I'll just edit it on the screen.
I don't have a digital of that.
Oh, I assumed you printed that.
No, that's hand drawn.
Oh, and you like mailed it?
Yes.
Oh, gee, I
Yes,
didn't realize
that is
Okay.
from Bob.
We'll find a way to scan it.
Yeah,
Just
it's
take a
too big
picture
for
or
a normal
whatever.
one. But either way,
Yeah.
that was stuff that just like, I mean, absolutely floored me, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, we're just these dumb nerds on the internet talking about this, and Will always had the joke of the Whips Nettington and taking it from obviously just joking around about that to having a whole contest on like what's the best Whips Nettington that we can possibly have, crowning a winner, and having somebody then draw all of the contestants. I mean, just that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that like that's why we were doing this.
Yeah.
So Bob F,
Type of stuff I really miss.
shout out to you. I know we still talk and we're still going to talk because we're talking about playing games soon. But just I want you to always remember that swashbucklers are pirates. So moving on, Gray, Joe P, Muddawait, Rick D, Sir Laugh a Lot, Sensibly 20, Tyler S, Adam A, and Rob K, who is my cousin, and I don't know why he doesn't even listen. He just gave us $1, and I was like, you don't have to do that, bud. We've got actual people listening, and he's like, no, man, I'll throw you $1 a month. It's like, okay, thanks, Rob. So shout
That's
out
actually
to you,
pretty
Rob.
sweet. Yeah.
It
I didn't know
is.
that.
Yeah. It's like I want you to know this is not necessary. It's not like our show is like needing money for support. But either way, I know I've spoken with a lot of you separately throughout the years. So if I didn't like specifically call somebody out, it's not because you're not as loved or something. But I don't know. Just you're all great.
Yeah. All right. And as always, thanks for watching.
Well,
Yeah.
see you Tuesday.
Yeah. See you guys then.